Sagara Hidashekaru Nakori Vaishnava Katha Diya Pada Chaya Shodoheya Maya Tumara Charana Diya Pada Diya Pada Chaya Sodoheya Maya Tumara Charana Dori Chaya Vegadomi Chaya Dosha Shodhi Chaya Guna Deho Dase Chaya Dosha Shodhi Chaya Guna Deho Dase Chaya Vegadomi Chaya Dosha Shodhi Chaya Guna Deho Dase Chaya Vegadomi Chaya Dosha Shodhi Chaya Satsanga Deho Heya Mare Bushishe Sange Rashe Chaya Chaya Satsanga Deho Heya Mare Bushishe Sange Rashe Ekaki Amara Nahi Paya Bala Hari Nama Sankirtane Nahi Paya Bala Ekaki Amara Nahi Paya Bala Hari Nama Sankirtane Tumi Kripa Kori Shraddha Bindu Diya Deho Krishna Nama Gane Tumi Kripa Kori Shraddha Bindu Diya Deho Krishna Nama Gane Krishna se tomara Krishna dete paro tomara sakatiya che Krishna se tomara Krishna dete paro tomara sakatiya che আমি তো কঙ্গালা কৃষ্ণ কৃষ্ণ বলি দাই তব পাচে পাচে আমি কৃষ্ণ কৃষ্ণ বলি দাই তব আমি তো কঙ্গালা কৃষ্ণ কৃষ্ণ বলি দাই তব পাচে পাচে ओ हे वैष्णव ठाकुर दयार सागर दासे करुणा कोरी ओ हे वैष्णव ठाकुर दयार सागर दासे करुणा कोरी ओ हे वैष्णव जय वैष्णव ठाकुर जय वैष्णव ठाकुर जय वैष्णव ठाकुर जय वैष्णव ठाकुर जय जय वैष्णव ठाकुर जय वैष्णव ठाकुर जय वैष्णव ठाकुर जय वैष्णव ठाकुर जय So this is a song on by Narottam Das Thakur. So we sing this song. Gauranga Karuna Koro Ami Dina Hina Jane Gauranga Karuna Koro Ami Dina Hina Jai Gaura Hari Samapatita Prabhu Nahi Tribhuvane Jai Gauranga Trinadhari Gaura Saki Hat Tumara Trinadhari Dante Trinadhari Gaura Dati Hai Tumara Jai Gauranga. Jaridoya nakoride patita tekiya. Jaridoya nakoride patita tekiya. Patita pavana nama tisera lagiya. Patita pavana Gauranga karuna karo amidina Samapatita Prabhu Nahi Tribhuvane Samapatita Odeche Bhava Tufane Nahi Shah Bhava tufane nahi kanishta. Shri Charan tharani dhane dase korapa. Charan Charan Dane Dase Korupal Gauranga Karuna Koro Amidina Hidani Jai Gauranga Gauranga Karuna Koro Amidina Hidani Gauranga Samapatita Prabhu Nahi Tribhuvane Samapatita Prabhu Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Dasa Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Dasa Dasa Prarthana karo ye sada narottama dasa Jai Gaura Hari Jai Gauranga Gauranga Karuna Karo Nidhi Nahi Bhagane Gauranga Jai Gauranga Jai Gaura Hari Hare Krishna. Vibhavare sesa aloka pravesa nidra chari utho jiva Vibhavare sesa aloka pravesa nidra chari utho jiva Bolo Hari Hari Mukunda Murari Rama Krishna Hayagriva Bolo Hari Hari Mukunda Murari Rama Krishna Hayagriva Nisingha Vamana Sri Madhusudana Brajendra Nandana Syama Nisingha Vamana Sri Madhusudana Brajendra Nandana Syama Putana Ghatana Kaitava Sadhana Jaya Dasa Rati Rama Putana Ghatana Kaitava Sadhana Jaya Dasa Rati Rama Yasoda Dulala Govinda Gopala Vrindavana Purandara Yasoda Dulala Govinda Gopala Vrindavana Purandara Gopi Priya Jana Radhika Ramana Bhuvana Sundara Hara Gopi Priya Jana Radhika Ramana Bhuvana Sundara Hara Ravananta Kara Makhana Taskara Gopi Jana Vastrahari Ravananta Kara Makhana Taskara Gopi Jana Vastrahari Brajera Rakhala Gopa Vrindapala Chittahari Bansidhari Brajera Rakhala Gopa Vrindapala Chittahari Bansidhari Yamuna Jivana Can you move? Yoginda Vandana Sri Nanda Nandana Braja Jana Vayahari Yoginda Vandana Sri Nanda Nandana Braja Jana Vayahari Navina Nirada Rupa Manohara Mohana Vandana
Vanshi Bihari Nadi Nadi Radha Rupa Manohara Mohana Vanshi Bihari Yasodhanandana Kansani Sudana Nikunja Rasa Vilasi Yasodhanandana Kansani Sudana Nikunja Rasa Vilasi Kadamba Kanana Rasa Parayana Vrindavi Pina Nivasi Kadamba Kanana Rasa Parayana Vrindavi Pina Nivasi Ananda Vardhana Premani Ketana Phula Sarajutha Kama Ananda Vardhana Premani Ketana Phula Sarajutha Kama Gopanganagana Chitta Vinodana Samasta Gunadana Bhama Gopanganagana Samasta Gunadana Bhama Vibhavadi Sesa Aloka Pavisa Nidra Chari Utho Jiva Nidra Chari Utho Jiva. Go to 8. Last. Jamuna Jivana Keli Parayana Manasa Chandra Chakora Jamuna Jivana Keli Parayana Manasa Chandra Chakora Nama Sudarasa Gav Krishna Jasa Raghava Chana Manamora Nama Sudarasa Gav Krishna Jasa Raghava Chana Manamora Vibhavari Sita Aloka Pavisa Nitra Chari Utto Diva
बोलो हरि हरि मुकुंद मुरारी राम कृष्ण हयग्रीवा उज्ज्वल उज्ज्वल वर्ण गौरवरदेहं विलसित निरवधि भावविदेहं गौरवरदेहं विलसित निरवधि भावविदेहं त्रिभुवन पावन कृपायलेशं तं प्रणमामि च श्रीशचीतनयम् पावन कृपायलेशं तं प्रणमामि च श्रीशचीतनयम् गदगदन्तर भावविकारं दुर्जनतर्जननादविशालम् अंतर भावविकारं दुर्जनतर्जन कपोलम् इन्दुविनिन्दितनखचय रुचिरम् अम्बरधर कपोलम् इन्दुविनिन्दितनखचय रुचिरम् जल्पिता निजगुणनाम विनोदं तं प्रणमामि च श्रीसच्चिदानन्दम् निजगुणनाम विनोदं तं प्रणमामि च श्रीसच्चिदानन्दम् विगलितनयन कमलजलधारम् भूषण नवरस भाव विकारम् कमल जलधारम् गति अति मंथर नृत्य विलासम् तं प्रणमामि च श्रीसच्चिदानन्दम् चरणगतिरुचिरम् मन्दिररञ्जितपदयुगमधुरम् चन्द्रविनिन्दितशीतलवदनम् तं प्रणमामि च श्रीसच्चिदानन्दम् धृतकटिगोर कमण्डलुदण्डम् दिव्यकलेवरमुण्डितमुण्डम् दुर्जनकल्मषखण्डनदण्डम् तं प्रणमामि च श्रीसच्चिदानन्दम् भूषणभूरज अलकावलितं कम्पितबिम्बाधरवररुचिरम् भूरज अलकावलितं कम्पितबिम्बाधरवररुचिरम् मलयज विरचित उज्ज्वलतिलकम् तं प्रणमामि च श्रीसच्चिदानन्दम् निन्दितरुणकमलदलनयनम् आजनुलम्बित श्रीभुजयुगलम् कलेवर कैशोर नर्तकवेशम् तं प्रणमामि च श्रीसच्चिदानन्दम् निरवधि भाव विदेहम् I think now no Bhagavad-gita. Okay, Sanskrit. Should we just do the Sanskrit, Prabhu, quickly, or?
Class to 8 o'clock, right?
It's already 8 o'clock.
So better to sing Hare Krishna on the field class. Okay?
Okay.
Chanting, taking down or singing Hare Krishna when you are here. Hare Krishna, please everybody be seated. Put some chair also on the back.
Jai
Hare Krishna. Let's welcome His Grace Chaitanya Charan Prabhu to ISKCON of Silicon Valley Temple. Please give a big round of applause. So I don't need to give much introduction. He has been coming, giving his blessings in association to ISB, many of our congregation members. But just in a snapshot, he has also authored more than 25 books, spiritual books, and also he has been invited as guest speakers in UNESCO, World Conference, and various organizations. He used to go and speak about the spiritual lifestyle. Plus also, he has not only visited many corporate like Intel, Google, Microsoft and various campus like Stanford, MIT, he used to go and give really encouragement on the spiritual life. So also GitaDaily.com, and he does like what is it called? Podcast, yes. Podcast, I think recently I watched with Radhika Raman Prabhu. It was wonderful. GitaDaily.com is also one of the beautiful sites. He has written more than 4,000 articles in such various literature. Back to Godhead magazine, I can go on, but I'll allow him to speak. So please give again a big round of applause and welcome Chaitanya Charan Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकाय चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी इति नामिने Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Hitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So grateful to be here with all of you today. And I have been discussing the Bhagavad-gita chapter 9 or a series of talks. Were any of you present for any of the earlier talks? Okay, some of you. So basically, we have been going over the chapter 9. So I'll quickly take a recap of what we discussed. But each session is independent in itself. So you'll be able to gather what is discussed today, even if the background is not known. So in the first session, I talked about the significance. So I'll be using this as a whiteboard to write things. So the significance of chapter 9. Basically, I discussed how the Bhagavad-gita's 18 chapters, the Bhagavad-gita is like at one level. If we consider this, chapter 9 comes right in the middle. So the first 6 chapters are basically talk about going from Karma Yoga to Bhakti Yoga. It culminates in Bhakti Yoga. It goes Karma Yoga through Dhyan Yoga to Bhakti Yoga. Then the last section talks about Jnana Yoga to Bhakti Yoga. And the middle 6 chapters are talking about Bhakti Yoga. So normally if we have a book which is like say a mystery novel, then the climax comes at the end. And in one sense, in the Gita also, the climax comes at the end in 1866. So that is like the climax. Krishna is telling his highest instruction. Whatever I had told you, beyond that, sarvadharman prittajamam ekam sharanam vraja. It's categorically conclusive instruction. But at the same time, the Gita's flow is not like a linear storyline moving towards a conclusion. It is, you could say that from Krishna's perspective, Krishna has a particular purpose. So say if this is the target, this is the goal to be achieved. The goal is to guide Arjuna to know what is dharma, what is the right thing to do. So Krishna helps Arjuna understand that from multiple perspectives. So an expert archer can exactly hit the target. But a super expert archer can hit the exact target from multiple directions. So similarly, Krishna guides Arjuna to understand what is dharma from multiple perspectives. So the initial 6 chapters start with the perspective of Karma Yoga, and they tell Arjuna from that perspective what is the right thing to do for him when he is faced with the dilemma of whether to fight or not fight. The last 6 chapters, they talk about it from the perspective of Jnana Yoga. And the middle 6 chapters talk about it from the perspective of Bhakti Yoga. So, in one sense, these 3 sections are like 3 arrows. So, the 3 arrows are coming from 3 different directions, but they are all hitting the same target. So, these 3 chapters analyze Arjuna's predicament from different perspectives and arrive at the same conclusion. Since the central and conclusive message of the Gita, central means it's a central section, and conclusive, what it culminates in is central and conclusive message is Bhakti Yoga. So that section is especially important. And within that, the 9th chapter is at the heart of it. And in one sense, in the 9th chapter, Krishna talks about bhakti at multiple places. So if you consider among these 6 chapters, 7 to 7 to 12. In 7th chapter, there is a intro to Bhakti Yoga. What is Bhakti Yoga? Why should we practice Bhakti Yoga? Who is the object of devotion which we are focusing on when we are practicing Bhakti? Then after that, 8th chapter is basically a comparison of Bhakti Yoga and Dhyan Yoga. Dhyan Yoga is what Krishna has spoken in the 6th chapter. So he's comparing that. Then 9th chapter is a deep dive into Bhakti Yoga. Now within that, Krishna will basically, if we are going to emphasize a particular point, say if a doctor is helping a patient diagnosed with a serious disease like cancer to come up with a treatment plan, then the doctor may, okay, this is an option for you, this is an option for you, this is an option for you. But if the doctor feels that a particular treatment is especially good, then the doctor may give treatment plan 1, treatment plan 2, and then treatment plan 3, if what is they recommending. Then they will compare treatment plan 3 with treatment plan 1, with treatment plan 2. And in that way, they will emphasize this is a good treatment. So Krishna, in one sense, in the 9th chapter, there's a deep dive into Bhakti Yoga, but it's also, Bhakti Yoga is compared with Karma Kand and with, in general, other processes. But with material religiosity and other processes, but specifically Karma Kand, that comparison is there within it. Now 10th chapter is about the Vishwarupa. Is it? No, that is the 11th chapter. Okay. The 10th chapter is about Vibhuti. So the idea is that the 10th, from the perspective of Bhakti Yoga, 10th and 11th chapters are focusing on the object of devotion. See, in Bhakti Yoga, there are two distinct things. We could say that chapter 7, see, there is the process of devotion and there is the object of devotion. What is it that you have to do when you are practicing Bhakti? And who is it that we are worshipping when you are practicing Bhakti? The two are both important in their own way. So, we could say, in one sense, chapters 10 and 11, the focus is more on the object of devotion. In chapter 8, the focus is more on the process. Chapter 7, the process focus on the object. Chapter 8 is a good combination of object and process. Whom is it that we are worshipping and how to worship that Lord? And then chapter 10 talks about the Vibhuti. It talks about the glory of the Lord, how he is manifested in the glorious things of this world. Chapter 11 talks about the universal form, how he can be seen everywhere. And chapter 12 is the culmination of this section, wherein Krishna is explaining Bhakti Yoga from two perspectives. There is Bhakti Yoga versus impersonalism. That's the first section. And then there is the Bhakti Yoga accessibility. There's a progression. Even if somebody is not very pure-hearted, still from wherever one is, one can practice Bhakti and get elevated. So multi-level access of Bhakti Yoga is described. So in this overall analysis of these 6 chapters, we will see that in some ways, the 9th chapter covers the ambit of Bhakti Yoga the most, because both the object of devotion and the process of devotion are being described. Now, and within this, so if we consider, how many verses does this chapter have? Does anyone remember? 34, yes. So I've discussed the first two sections. So 1 to 10 and then till 18. So 1 to 10 is talking about Krishna's controllership. How exactly does he control everything? Maya adhyakshena prakriti. Does that mean we don't have free will at all? If we have free will, then how is God in control? So the example is the wind moving within the sky. The wind is free to move, but its area of movement is limited. So we all have free will, we have freedom, but within a limited framework. So that's why Duryodhana can do evil things he wants to, if he wants to, but for a finite amount of time. And then in the next section, how different people respond to Krishna's controllership. That if Krishna is the controller or Krishna is the Supreme Lord, how do different people respond to that? So some people defy him, that is described in 11, 12 verses. Some people harmonize with him, that is described in 13, 14. And there are people who are in between, that's described in 15 and other verses. Yes, Prabhu? Oh, sorry. Okay, not responsibility, response. So this is the problem with acronyms or short forms. It's in the mind of the speaker, but it's not there in the mind of the audience. So response. So response to Krishna's, how do we respond to Krishna's controllership? And the section that we'll be discussing today will be 4 glories of Bhakti Yoga. That now Krishna has talked about the object of devotion and how different people respond to his to that object of devotion. So he has clearly recommended or glorified those who become devoted to him. So now, why should one become devoted to him? That is explained in this last section. So this broadly goes from 1920 onwards, from 20th verse till around 34th verse. So 19th verse is a bit of a transition. Now, whenever we talk about any sections, these are not rigid sections. It's like on a map of the world, we can have a very convenient division. Okay, this is, say, America, this is Canada. But if you actually go, there is no neat dividing line. If you say, okay, this river divides, does that mean half of the river belongs to Canada, half of the river belongs to America? So these kind of divisions are primarily aids for understanding. So let's now consider this last section, which broadly it goes from 20 to 34. So I'll talk about 4 glories of Bhakti Yoga that are described over here. So I'll talk about it in terms of 4 E's. That so first is it offers everlasting results. So everlasting. Okay. Then the second is easy to practice. Then the third E, this goes on till Samoham Sarvabhuteshu. Yeah. This goes on till 30. This is embraces everyone. That means that anybody and everybody can practice. And then last is elevates to highest destination. So everlasting, easy, embracing, elevating. So the idea is that suppose we take some treatment. We are sick, we'll use the sickness metaphor. Somebody is sick and we take some treatment. So now if say we had the pandemic and there was some vaccination which is supposed to give us some protection. Now if there is one vaccine which says it will give you protection for 6 months, another vaccine which says it will protect you for life. Now naturally, we would prefer something which has a lasting result. So that is one way Krishna glorifies it. Now another is, say, if you have to take some medicine, maybe you have to get anesthetized, you have to go into the hospital and then it has to be inserted through your mouth, through the esophagus. Or rather, you just pop a pill into. It's easy. Naturally, you would prefer that. And third is that actually it is only these category of people can take it. So sometimes some medicines, normally medicines are meant to cure people or make them healthy. But there are many medicines which require a basic level of health to take the medicine. Otherwise, they can be contraindicative. They can have harmful effects. So if you have to have a certain level of immunity, a certain level of, say, resilience of bodily function, if you already have some background problems, then you cannot take the medicine. But if there is a medicine which anybody can take, no matter how sick you have been, no matter how low your health level is, immunity is, then that's the medicine that you prefer. And then, there could be some medicines which you just remove the germs from the body, but after that, you have to take tonics and other things. Then so it's one is removing infection, but the other is gaining strength. And some medicines may just remove infections, but we will not be able to regain the strength. But if there is a medicine, one medicine which does everything, which removes infection, which restores vitality, which just takes a person straight to the best level of health, then naturally we would prefer that medicine. So in this way, Krishna is talking about Bhakti Yoga from different perspectives. And so Bhakti Yoga is such a medicine. Now when we say that medicine, we may say that, but I am not sick. Well, if you think you are not sick, then you are really sick. It's like if a person is a little drunk, then if they go to a bar, they drink a bit too much, and then they're at least aware. They say, okay, they tell you, maybe I can't drive now. They may tell the bartender, can you call a cab for me? And then, if they're a little drunk, they're aware that they're drunk. But if they drink so much, and then they're not aware of anything, the bartender says, sir, maybe you shouldn't drive. Can I call a cab for you? Get lost, I can drive. They can't even speak. But they think I can drive. So when we are too drunk, we don't even realize we are drunk. So like that, normally with respect to physical sickness, it is that if we are very sick, we just cannot deny that. A little sick, we can cover it up, we can deny it. But when we are very sick, we cannot deny it. But the sickness, spiritual sickness, is something like, say, mental health problems. When we are trying to function and suddenly our mind goes off and we are hallucinating and things like that, then we say, maybe something is wrong with me. But if a person is completely and constantly hallucinating, then what happens is, they're so disconnected from the world that they don't even realize they're disconnected. So our illusion is like that. So the word Maya, what does Maya mean? Sorry? That which is not. So I was once invited to a university to give a class. So while I was going for the program, I asked the devotees, where is this program? So this is the American Institute of Illusion. So it was basically a movie making kind of thing. They train people in that. So the idea is that actually illusion is no laughing matter. Now, illusion also, if it is to captivate a person, it has to be well made. Thousands of movies are made, most of them bomb at the box office. Because the illusion is not good enough. Isn't it? So, Maya refers to that which is not. So, in one sense, Maya refers to illusion. Maya, the general understanding is Maya refers to illusion. But from the Gita's perspective, Maya is not just, Maya refers not just to illusion, but the agency that brings about illusion. So Maya is not just something that automatically exists. There is the agency of the Lord. Just like a movie doesn't just come automatically. There's an expert. If the movie is good, there's an expert director who is doing the movie. That's why Krishna says, Mama Maya Duratteya. So because of Maya, essentially, what does Maya do? When we talk about illusion, what is illusion? So for that, we need to understand what is the opposite of illusion? Okay. Yeah, okay, clarity, you could say. Now there are three different words which you used. Clarity, reality, truth. So now, does anyone have clarity about the difference between these three? Okay. So one way to understand this is that, see, truth is, now there are different ways to understand it, but I'll explain in one particular way. See, truth essentially is correspondence between reality and perception. It's correspondence between reality and perception. So, reality is what exists. Perception is how I perceive it. So, if there is a correspondence between reality and perception, then we are in truth. So, otherwise, we are in illusion. So, for example, if we consider if we are going in a desert and we see water over there. Now, actually, there is no water over there. So, if we consider, the reality is no water, but the perception is water. So, this is illusion. This is Maya. Now, this doesn't just, now, when there is a mismatch between perception and reality, the greater the mismatch, the greater is the illusion. The greater the alignment between when reality and perception, they become harmonized. That, the highest level of harmonization is the state of enlightenment. When there is not just correspondence, but there is, at this stage, there is congruence. Now, congruence doesn't necessarily mean that our perception is going to perceive all of reality. But whatever aspect of reality we are perceiving it properly. So that correspondence is called as enlightenment. Yes, Prabhu. You want to enlighten us?
So you were talking about the truth and reality. So sometimes the reality, for example, I'm looking at a mountain. Mountain is full of trees. From far distance, I view it, then it appears like a green mountain.
Correct, yeah.
So there is no illusion per se. I'm viewing it as it is, but I seem to be viewing it differently. Is that, and then some person who is closer to the mountain may be viewing it differently. So what is that we are seeing truth, or one is seeing the illusion? What is that?
Okay, good question. So from a distance, when we see a mountain, we see just the mountain as a green mountain. But when you go closer, we see there is a mountain which may be brown in color, but on that there is a green cover because of green trees. So what is it? Yes, that is where the third term comes in. That is, we discuss clarity, as you mentioned. So what happens is, there can be correspondence between truth and between perception and reality. But how much is the degree of correspondence? So we could say clarity at the bottom, if you see there's an increasing clarity. That means, say we get to meet a person for the first time. Then we get to know that person. Okay, yeah, this person is like this is the name of this person. We'll get to know about something about that person. Now, if we meet that person multiple times, then what happens is we get greater and greater understanding of that person. So at the basic level, there is correspondence. There has to be some correspondence. But as this correspondence keeps increasing, at the top of it, there is congruence. So from correspondence to congruence, that is a long journey. So yomam eva asammudho janati purushottamam sa sarvavid bhajati mam sarva bhavena bharata. So Krishna says that one who iti gohyatamam shastram idamuktam maya naga etad buddhva buddhiman syat kritakrutyascha bharata. In 15, 19 and 20, Krishna says that one who understands me to be the ultimate reality, that person is an enlightened person. That person is Sa sarvavid bhajati mam. Sarvavid. That person is a knower of everything. Now, knower of everything does sarvavid means not that the person knows literally everything in its specific details, but everything in its essence principle, essential sustaining principle. That a person comes to know that. Yes, bro. No problem. The mic cannot go behind. Okay. Okay.
So, at the state of congruence, can there be subjectivity? Basically, different people can perceive the same truth differently at the enlightenment state.
Okay. At the state of congruence, can there be subjectivity? Well, yes, because if we consider, okay, if we consider this is the ultimate reality, then I may be approaching from here, and say you may be approaching from here. So if we consider that we are both approaching the ultimate reality, in that sense, we can say that both these people, say for example, if we both understand that Krishna is the ultimate object of devotion, he is the ultimate reality. Aham sarvasya prabhavo mattaha sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvita. So we are Buddha, we are enlightened. So both these, so if this is Krishna, then both these people, according to 10.8, both are Buddha. But yet, the next verse, 10.9 says that these two people, they discuss with each other. And when they are discussing with each other, what are they doing? They are bodhayantaha. Now, bodhayanta is a very striking word over there, because it's a variant of Buddha. And bodhayanta, Prabhupada also translates as, and they enlighten each other. So the point of the verse is, the enlightened enlighten each other, or the enlightened keep enlightening each other. And they delight in enlightening each other. Why? Okay, yeah, not a bad idea. No. Okay, is this better? Thank you. So the enlightened, thank you. The enlightened, thank you for enlightening me. So the enlightened enlighten each other, and they delight in doing so. So what does that mean? That means they both are enlightened in the sense that they know Krishna as the ultimate reality, the ultimate object of devotion. But because Krishna is unlimited, so they can keep knowing Krishna more and more from different perspectives. There's a quote of Srila Prabhupada associated with this, was that he says that because Krishna is unlimited, he says for anyone who knows Krishna is Krishna conscious. But because Krishna is unlimited, we can keep becoming more and more Krishna consciousness for all time to come. So yes, can the enlightened people have different perspectives? Well, they don't have a different perspective in the sense that if somebody says Krishna is the object of enlightenment, somebody else says Maya is the object of enlightenment. No, that difference is not there. But what is the nature of Krishna? What are the characteristics of Krishna? In that, there can be, and not only there can be, there is an ongoing progression. So in that sense, we can say enlightenment is both a destination and a journey. Normally we think at the end of the journey is the destination. But in the case of enlightenment, like some people, there are two extremes. Some people say that that spirituality is the journey with no destination. Or there are other spiritualists who say spirituality is the destination with no journey. Now whatever that means, you don't. People just like to play with words. But the point is that spirituality is the Bhagavad-gita says, it is both a destination and a journey. Destination means we are at present directing our love towards many different objects. So our love is searching for a worthy object or for the worthiest object. And enlightenment as a destination means we understand that Krishna is the worthiest object of love. So that is at one level enlightenment. And that is what I quoted in the verse 15, Yomameva Sambuddha 15:19. That one is becomes Sasarvavid, such a person is enlightened. But at the same time, it is a journey because Krishna is endlessly lovable. That means, or rather, why Krishna is lovable, that is an endless discovery. We keep discovering more and more of Krishna's attributes by which we find that he's more and more lovable. So in that sense, enlightenment is both a destination and a journey. And that is why, even among enlightened souls, there can be different perspectives. There can be subjectivity. So, for example, this is a big subject, but quickly since you brought this up. So, if we get distracted, the blame is solely on you. So, when Krishna comes back from in the evening after going to the forest, then there are dust marks on his body. Now, when there are dust marks, Mother Yashoda sees those dust marks from one perspective. The Gopas who have not been able to go on that day, they see the dust mark from another perspective. For them, they see that Krishna, Mother Yashoda says, "Oh, Krishna must be tired. Krishna must be. I need to bathe him. I need to clean him." The Gopas say, "Oh, there's so much dust on his body. The more dust, the more fun Krishna must be having." He said, "We missed out on the fun." So they perceive the same thing differently. So the idea is that there is, we could say in terms of tattva, there is objectivity, that there is the param tattva. But in terms of rasa, there is subjectivity. The same reality is perceived differently. And based on how the reality is perceived, there are different experiences. There are different experiences of emotions. There are different experiences of desires that arise from those emotions. And that is the rasa part. So both objectivity and subjectivity are there. Okay? Thank you.
So, so you also answered my follow-up question, which was, what's the difference between clarity and subjectivity? Basically, on the tattva part, there is clarity is present in the congruent state, but from the rasa point of view, there is subjectivity is allowed.
Yes, that is true. It's a good way of looking at it.
Thank you.
So as we become, in fact, you can say, at one level, purification. See, every impurity, when we say every impurity, what it does is impurity causes misalignment between perception and reality. So, for example, when there is greed, then there is a particular object, and we think the more I get of that object, the happier I'll become. Yeah, maybe that object can give us some pleasure, but it is not necessary that the more and more I get of that object, the more my pleasure will increase. As they said, there's the law of diminishing returns. The pleasure doesn't keep increasing, we just get more and more and more. So if somebody is below the poverty line, getting wealth is a source of, it's survival itself. It's a source of great joy. But then once a person is at a particular level of comfort, then the wealth itself, it doesn't give that much pleasure. So when there is any impurity, so if there's a lust, then when what happens is, yes, there is some pleasure in physical relationship, but lust makes one imagine that there is irresistible, almost unlimited pleasure. So there is misalignment between perception and reality. So that's what the essence of impurity is. Okay. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
By the way, before asking the question, remember that the class is not yet started. Okay.
Sure, Prabhu. So I have this question. The one where you said, right, the example you were giving about the water, like mirage, right,
Yeah.
mirage. So in that case, there is no water; it is false. So
Yeah.
illusion is false. But we say that, like, this material world is illusion, but it is temporary and but it is not false, right?
Yeah,
So
that's true.
but-
So with respect to the mirage, the point is that, see, there are two different understandings of illusion. There's the Advaitic understanding of illusion. So illusion is that which doesn't exist at all. That is one understanding of illusion. But that is one understanding. This is because more of the Advaita understanding. Another understanding of illusion is that which exists. How do I put it? That which exists elsewhere from where it appears. That which exists but not where it appears. So, for example, when we mistake that the sand, when we think that there is water, water has to exist somewhere, without which there cannot be the mistake of we thinking there is water. If there was no water at all anywhere, then we would not think, oh, there's water over here. So when we mistake a rope to be a snake, when we mistake a rope to be a snake, there is no snake over there actually. But a snake has to exist somewhere. If a snake does not exist, then we would not mistake the rope to be a snake. So, similarly, say we are attracted to forms in the world. And we think this is the source of such beauty and pleasure. Yes, they are at one level. But why would we, if there is this complete illusion, and so why is this? This is the impersonalist understanding. Why is that? Because in the impersonal worldview, their idea is that Brahman is the only reality. That is the only reality. And everything else that exists is basically an illusion. So when Brahman becomes mixed with Sattva, then we have Ishvara. So the idea of God is also an illusion from their perspective. That's why sometimes some impersonalists get angry when Prabhupada says that the impersonalists are like atheists. They say that they are not atheists, but in the literal sense of the word, it's not that they don't believe in God. But their idea is even God is an illusion. Because when Brahman is the only reality, and then when Brahman comes in contact with Ishvara, then there is, with Sattva, then there is Ishvara. When Brahman comes in contact with Rajas, there is Jiva. And when Brahman comes in contact with Tamas, there is Jagat. There is Prakriti. So now their idea is that actually all three are illusion. Because Brahma Satya, everything else is Mithya. When the Jagan Mithya, everything else is Mithya. So now normally they say that impersonalism means that we will become God. But there are many, those who are philosophical impersonalists, they say actually this is a misrepresentation of impersonalism. There are many impersonalists who themselves say that. There are some impersonalists say that, I am God. And there's another impersonal leader, he came to the West and he said, there are many gurus who came in the past and they said that they are God. He says, I don't have that elitist mentality. I am an egalitarian teacher. I have not come to tell you that I am God. I have come to tell you that you are God. So their idea, now that is the way they explain it, but their understanding ultimately is that when you become enlightened, it is not that Jiva and Ishvara, they merge into each other. Rather, their understanding is when you become enlightened, you understand this is Maya, and this is Maya. That Jagat, Jeev and Ishwar are all Maya, and all that exists is Brahman. But their idea is that Ishwar is a useful illusion. Jagat, in one sense, is a useless illusion. It's a harmful illusion because it just entangles us. But because say Jagat is below us, Ishwar is above us. Jagat is more it's completely unconscious. It's acheta. So when our consciousness gets fixated on Jagata, then we get more and more entangled. So it's a harmful illusion. But Ishvara is a helpful illusion because Ishvara is above us. So we meditate on God till we will realize that actually I am Brahman, that is Brahman, and ultimately Chatakash Patakash, as they say. That there's a small pot, there's a big pot. The small pot is Jiva, the big pot is Ishvara. And ultimately the idea is break both the pots and all that remains is the air. So that's why their idea is, so the technical word that they use for themselves is that they say we are not atheists, we are trans-theists. Trans-theist means we go beyond theism. That God is the idea of God is an illusion, but the idea when you go beyond God and say, you essentially are saying there is no God. So in that sense, trans-theists are also atheists. Now we don't want to go about, most people who follow impersonal path, most of them they don't even know much about the philosophy. So therefore, just calling them as atheists is sometimes, they can take offense because they may also worship the Lord. And they may not even know that their leaders have the idea that you have to go beyond God or something like that. So, but the point is that I was talking about the impersonal idea is that everything that we perceive, forms, qualities, nama, rupa, guna, lila, all of this is Maya. And ultimately, what exists is just non-differentiated consciousness. So non-differentiated consciousness means what? That, say, if this is the subject, and this is the object. The subject means one who is perceiving. Object is what is being perceived. So for example, if you are looking at me, then you are the subject of consciousness, and I am the object of consciousness. Now, in between these two is the stream of consciousness. Stream of consciousness. So their understanding is, if this is the jiva, now when, like I said, okay, this has become a class on impersonalism and you are responsible. So when the jiva is the subject and the jagat is the object, then this stream of consciousness, this is, as I said, a harmful illusion. But when the jiva is the object of consciousness and the Ishwar is the subject of consciousness, then it is, what is it? Helpful illusion. So this is their idea. But ultimately, when you become liberated, when you become enlightened, you understand that there is no Ishwar and there is no Jiva. There is only the stream of consciousness. There is only the stream of consciousness. So their understanding of Maya is that actually that which does not exist at all. So the Nama Rupa, so when we perceive, what do we perceive? We perceive Nama Rupa Guna Lila. We perceive attributes, people. So all this is illusion according to them. So that's why their understanding of Maya is significantly different. Now what is the Vaishnava understanding? Let's see, there is Jiva, there is Ishvara. Now, Ishvara is of course unlimited, but here let's put him as, we have to depict it in finite terms. And then there are other Jivas. And then there is, let's put this as Jagat, Prakriti. There are many things in Prakriti. So Maya is to, let me use a different color here. So when we perceive only these things, this is Maya. But if we perceive Krishna, this is Krishna, if we perceive Krishna, and then we perceive all things in relationship with Krishna, then that is enlightenment. That's why the definition of Maya that is given in the Bhagavatam is Rite artham yat pratiyeta na pratiyechatmani. When we see something as meaningful but as separate from Krishna, that is Maya. So water exists, but when we mistake a mirage to be water, the point is water does not exist there, but water exists somewhere else. So there beauty exists. Beautiful forms are sources of pleasure. But in this world, the beauty and beautiful forms are temporary. Krishna's beauty and Krishna's beautiful form is eternal. So when we are able to see Krishna, and so the one way is that we see things in relationship with Krishna, and look at the world through Krishna, and when we look at the world also, we look at Krishna. That means if a devotee sees something attractive in this world, devotee sees this attractiveness is a spark of Krishna's splendor. Then if our consciousness is going towards Krishna, then that is not actually Maya. That is a state of Krishna consciousness, which will move more and more towards enlightenment. Okay? So everyone is sufficiently confused? Insufficiently confused. Okay. Is clear? Okay, that is a reluctant yes. Okay. So we will have some time for question answers, but let's come back to our subject. In some ways this is related, what we are going to discuss. So I said I will talk about the 4 glories of Bhakti Yoga. So now Krishna has already compared Karma Yoga and Dhyana Yoga. Now Bhakti Yoga and Dhyana Yoga. Now Krishna has at the beginning talked about Karma Kand in the 2nd chapter. And he's also talked about Karma Yoga. Now here Krishna starts by comparing. He says somebody may do punya and go to heavens. Why specifically heavens? Because Arjuna has also been told that if you fight the war and if you die, hato va prapsesi swargam. So he says that you may fight and go to heaven. Somebody else may actually do yajnas. Tetam, what is that? That puta papa, that they perform yajna and they can purify that by drinking soma. And then Traividya mama soma paha puta papa yajnairishtva swargatim prarthayante. So they punyamasadya surendra lokam. They will perform punya and they will attain the abode of Indra. But Krishna says that the problem with this is kshine punye martyulokam vishanti. So the cosmology that is described in the Bhagavatam or the Bhagavad-gita Bhagavatam is similar. That this is the material world. This is our middle planetary system. These are upper planetary systems. So upper planetary systems. UPS is not uninterrupted power supply. There is the pleasure supply in the spiritual, even the heavens is actually very interrupted. In Swarga, there may be enjoyment, but there's always fear that the demons will attack. Now, beyond this is the spiritual world. So, Karma Kanda will take one here. But then, from there, a person will fall back here. Kshine punye martilokam vishanti. This is what Krishna says in 9:20 and 21. But in contrast, he says, if somebody practices Bhakti Yoga, they will go straight up. Ananyas chintayanto mam ye janaha paripasate. Tesham nityabhiyuktanam yoga kshemam vahamyaham. So now, yoga and kshema, that is often what we emphasize in this particular verse. That Krishna is saying that I will protect what you have and I will provide what you lack. So in this context, what does it mean? That it means that for attaining Krishna, we have to make endeavors. So whatever endeavors we have made, see, we often conscientiously try to focus our mind on Krishna. And slowly our mind wanders here, there, everywhere, and we try to bring it back on towards Krishna. And this principle that if we repeatedly focus on something, our attraction toward that increases. Now you study a subject repeatedly, dhyato vishayan pumsa, that dhyato principle applies. We contemplate on something repeatedly, gradually we start developing a connection with that. So that connection, Krishna says, I will protect that. So if we are practicing bhakti diligently, so the yoga and the kshema. So yoga and kshema that Krishna is saying, how exactly is bhakti eternal? How exactly are the results of bhakti eternal? So they are eternal because if we consider there's the soul, there's the mind, there's the body, and then beyond that there is the world. So all other paths, so if this is the soul, mind, body, now the results of other paths, whether it's karma kanda or any other path, those results are, so karma kanda, the results are either in the world or at the level of the body. That means a person may get a lot of wealth, or a person may get if they have done good karma, they may get a very healthy body, they may have a beautiful form, handsome form. So those are results are external. And that is why they will eventually be lost. But the results of bhakti yoga are primarily, they are in the mind and they are pointing toward the soul. We know that the mind goes along with the soul from one body to another. But in the mind, there are multiple impressions. So within the mind, they are based on the activities that we have done, there are impressions that could point us outward. That means if a person has been constantly fantasizing, say they want to do a particular activity. Prabhupada says if somebody is constantly fantasizing about eating meat, those impressions stay in their mind, and the next life, they will get a body that is more conducive for eating meat. They may get a lion's body, a tiger's body, or something like that. But the impression, what Bhakti Yoga does is, Bhakti Yoga primarily changes our inner world. And changes our inner world in such a way that we become directed towards the innermost reality, towards Krishna. And in this process, Krishna says that whatever attraction to me you have developed, I will protect that. And if whatever attraction you have not yet developed, you need that, you are lacking in that, I will provide that. So yoga kshemam vahamyaham. The results are everlasting. So we progress toward Krishna and we keep moving onward toward Krishna. So this is a well-known principle, but in this particular context, for Arjuna, when he is on the battlefield, you have a question? I'm sorry? What is? Okay, Kesema. Okay, okay, sorry. It is Kshema. In the Bhagavad-gita, Krishna is talking about yoga and Kshema. So, yoga and Kshema are two words which refers to how God provides for us in the world. So, okay. So, now, whatever attraction we have towards Krishna, we have developed some of it by our own endeavor. It means we are trying to repeatedly focus ourselves on Krishna, and that itself leads to attraction. Krishna says, I will protect that. That same attraction will be there for us. Purva bhyasena tenaiva riyate yavashopisa. In the 6th chapter, Krishna has said that by your previous practice, whatever attraction you have, that will awaken in the heart. But along with that, Krishna says, I will provide what you lack. That means in times of crisis, say Arjuna is fighting on the battle of Kurukshetra. He's trying to serve Krishna. So, whatever he requires for the service of Krishna, he has learned, he will have that. But if he's lacking in something, Krishna will provide that. So, we see this, for example, when he decided to punish Jayadratha for having plotted to have Abhimanyu trapped and killed. So, Arjuna fought with his fullest capacity. And he got very, very close to Jayadratha. But when he just couldn't get to Jayadratha at the last moment, then Krishna arranged for him to. So now we may say this does not exactly refer to the eternal result, but that's an example The point is that whatever endeavor we do, we will go to a particular distance. But if the distance we have gone is not sufficient, then Krishna will take us forward. So that is the first point, that the result is everlasting. And what is the second point? Second point was that bhakti is easy to perform. So is this color better or the earlier color was better? This is better? Okay, both are the same. Both are equally bad. Okay. So, easy to perform. This is where Krishna talks about patram pushpam phalam toyam. Yo me bhaktya prayachati. So, it is not in the Bhagavad-gita Krishna wants Arjuna to find a tulsi flower and offer to Krishna. That is not the point of the verse. The point is that Krishna is telling that, this is 26-27, he says that actually if we consider karmakanda, the yajnas that have to be performed are very complicated. But bhakti is very easy to do. The essence that is to be offered is consciousness. And in the context of Arjuna, Krishna is telling that the battlefield may not appear to be particularly like a sacred act. Fighting may not appear to be like a sacred activity. But when he's doing it for a higher cause, bhakti is so inclusive that even the simplest of activities can be included in the ambit of bhakti. So the idea is nobody is disqualified because of lacking resources. So some people, by their past karma, may not be very wealthy. Now, does that mean that if they're not wealthy, they may not be able to perform elaborate yajnas? But still, they can practice bhakti. Anybody can chant the holy names. Now, our past may in some way limit our present. As if somebody lacks wealth, they may not be able to perform particular forms of bhakti. They may not be able to have a big altar in their home. Their home itself is small. They may not be able to so easily go to Vrindavan if they want to. But that does not mean that they cannot practice bhakti itself. Certain forms, that way they are limited for everyone. Somebody may be very wealthy, but they may be staying in a city far away from a holy place. And for them to go to the holy place is much more difficult. So we are all limited in some ways. But the point is that in bhakti there are no material limitations. It's easy to perform means that no lack of material resources can stop the practice of bhakti. So in this way, Krishna is emphasizing the glory of bhakti. What Krishna ultimately wants is our heart. And what is in this world is meant to be an expression of our heart. So when we say that Krishna accepts even the simplest of things, the point is that it is not that Krishna wants simple things or opulent things. What Krishna wants is our heart. And we can express it in whatever way. So, now when we give charity, that when we are giving money, so what is the point of giving money? Krishna is Lakshmipati, he does not need money. But the idea is that we want to give our heart to Krishna. But in one sense, it is very difficult to give our heart. So what we do, as long as we can't give our heart, we give what is in our heart. So often wealth occupies a prominent place in our heart. When Prabhupada said that when we distribute books, don't just give books freely. There's no hesitation to give spiritual knowledge freely. But the point is, if somebody gives some Lakshmi, they give some money when they receive a book. Money is valuable, it's dear to everyone. When somebody gives that, then they will value what they are receiving. So the idea is, bhakti essentially means that we want to give our heart to Krishna. Now, one way to do it is give what is in our heart. Give what is in our heart to Krishna. So normally say if we give a gift to someone, now we might, if it's their birthday, we might, if a family member, friend, relative, somebody, their birthday, we give them some gift. Now we might buy something and give some gift. But if there's some precious family heirloom, family jewel or family, it may not be necessarily something very valuable, but something of great value to us. We give that, some special painting that we have got from our parents or ancestors or something like that. Then what is happening is, by giving something that holds a prominent place in our heart, we are giving our heart to Krishna, to that person. And the same principle applies to bhakti. So that as devotees, we want to offer our heart to Krishna. And that's why Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam doesn't mean that we be satisfied with offering only Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam. Krishna has said that. So, yes, Krishna is satisfied even with simple things. But Krishna's being satisfied with simple things shows his love for us, or shows his eagerness to receive our love. But if we offer him only simple things, then that shows not our eagerness to love Krishna, that shows our eagerness to avoid loving Krishna. Isn't it? If we love someone, we offer them the very best. So, what we offer shows our love to Krishna. What Krishna accepts shows his love for us. So that way, in that sense, a devotee wants to offer the best to Krishna. So this is Krishna. So what he accepts, that is his love for us. What he accepts, that is, from his perspective, his love is seen through that. And then what we offer, that, so what he accepts is from his side, he is accepting it. What we are offering, that shows our love. So as devotees, we try to offer the best that we can. But even if our best is very simple, Krishna accepts it. And in this way, again, the process of bhakti is universal in the sense that no material limitation can stop a person from serving Krishna. And the second part. Then the third part I said is that it embraces everyone. That means that nobody is disqualified from the practice of bhakti. So there is an apparent contradiction in the next verse. Samoham sarva bhuteshu, Krishna says. This is 929. Samoham sarva bhuteshu name dveshosti na priyaha. That I do not favor anyone, nor am I averse to anyone. I'm equal to everyone. And yet he says, Ye bhajanti tumam bhaktya. Those who worship me, he says, Maite teshu chapyam. He says, they are in me and I am in them. So there is a far greater sense of intimacy that is conveyed by this verse. So is this partiality? That when Krishna says, saying, I'm equal to everyone, but then my devotees are dear to me. So, is that partiality? Well, there is a word for describing this. This is universal partiality. Now, normally universal and partial are opposite, isn't it? It's like if you're using the word universal partiality, that is what is in English called as an oxymoron. So oxymoron is opposite. Like some arguments are so foolish that only intelligent people can believe them. That was a brilliantly foolish point. How does that work out? So, so the idea is if you bring two opposite things together, it doesn't make sense. So the idea that there is universal partiality means, is Krishna partial? Yes, of course, he loves his devotees. But then, so if we consider from a pendulum perspective, one is that he is partial because he specially favors devotees. He has special favor for devotees. So in that sense, he is partial. But at another level, what he is universal, because we will see in subsequent verses, he says that he invites everyone to become devotees. He does not close the doors of devotion for anyone. So, he's universal in the sense, subsequent verses will say, Mam hi partha vyapashitya ye pisyu papayone. Anyone can practice bhakti. Everyone can practice bhakti. So, in that sense, it's universal. So, It is like suppose a millionaire or a billionaire is staying at a particular place. And then they say that anybody who stays in the city, I'll give generous charity to them. Now we may say that that person is giving charity to everyone. But they're not giving charity to people who are not staying in that area. So, but anybody, if that billionaire is a king, and the king says, anybody can come and stay in my kingdom. And anybody who stays in my kingdom, they will give generous facilities from my generosity. They will receive my generosity. That means there is something expected. But what is expected is open for everyone. So like that, what Krishna says is, rather than thinking of it as 1 and 0, that if we consider this is Krishna, sometimes you may think that does Krishna even know that we exist? Does Krishna care for us? Does Krishna love us? That Krishna is existing only in the spiritual world and he has so many pure devotees. They serve him so much better than what we can serve him. So does he even care for us? We may get that question. So the answer is that if we consider Krishna has many, many circles of love emanating from him. And everyone has a place in one or the other circle of love. So I just drawn 4 over here, but let's put it. So in the innermost circle of love are the gopis. So they are the topmost devotees. They are most dear to Krishna. But then there are other Vrajavasis. They are also dear to Krishna. Then there are other devotees. They are dear to Krishna. There are other pure devotees. So we can say that there are people who are devotees in general. They are also in a circle of love. Now in between there can be many other circles of love. But every devotee, Krishna says, is Bhakta Vatsala. He is not saying Shuddha Bhakta Vatsala only. He is saying Bhakta Vatsala. That every devotee is in a circle of love with Krishna. And then Krishna also says, Suhrudam Sarva Bhutanam. That I am the well-wisher of everyone. So we could say, in the outermost circle it is Suhrudam. Now, Suhrudam is actually Hridaya, it's a heart. It is actually, that means everybody is dear to Krishna. So here we could just have generic spiritualists. They may not be devotees. So Krishna says that everybody is in some circle of love. And that means everybody is loved by Krishna. I once gave a class about atheism. So the title of the class was, God doesn't believe in atheists. So what it meant was that atheists may not believe in God, they may reject God. But God sees that their atheism is just a superficial, temporary covering misconception on them. God still accepts that they are souls, they are His parts, and He still seeks their welfare. So Krishna is the well-wisher of everyone. He loves everyone. But the idea is that we all can move towards an inner circle of love. And everyone from where we are, we can move towards an inner circle. And naturally, when there is an inner circle of love, there is greater intimacy over there. But where somebody is positioned among these various circles of love is not arbitrarily determined by Krishna. It is determined by that person's own choice. So Krishna is partial in the sense that different people are in different circles of love. That there are some people who are closer to, some souls who are closer to him, some souls are far away from him. So, and those who are closer to him, they get more of his attention, more mercy, more reciprocation, more revelations. So that's partial. But it's universal in the sense that, firstly, everyone is situated in one or the other circle of love, and everyone has the opportunity to move towards an inner circle of love. Yeah.
Hi, Krishna Prabhu. In Krishna's point of view, who qualifies as a devotee?
Krishna's point of view, who qualifies as a devotee? Well, devotee is, it's a stretchable term. It's like, you can say, if you consider Mahaprabhu, when he was asked who is a Vaishnava, he gave 3 definitions. And those 3 definitions, like, they encompass the entire gambit of, ambit of anybody who might be connected with Bhakti. So he said, first, ones who chants the holy name. That was his, when he talked, Satyaraj Khan asked him, ones who chants holy name, that person is a devotee. Then later on he said, one who regularly chants the holy names, that person is a devotee. Sorry. And then he said, one who is absorbed in Krishna's names, that person is a devotee. So it's everybody in that sense is, for Krishna, from Krishna's perspective, a devotee. Because even when somebody is not even connected with Krishna, they may be attracted to some worldly things. But those worldly things are also manifesting a spark of Krishna's attractiveness. So in that sense, that they are also devoted, but their devotion is misdirected. So Prabhupada says in the Ras Leela section of the Krishna book that everybody is dancing. But some people are dancing in Yogamaya and some people are dancing in Mahamaya. Some people are dancing in a way that is beneficial for them, pleasing to Krishna. Others are dancing in a way that is entangling for them, not elevating for them. Okay? Thank you. Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu, for the wonderful class. Prabhu, you mentioned about Yoga Kshemam Vahamyam, where you are mentioning that when one does Bhakti Yoga, it's mainly directed towards the soul. And then you told about the karma kand, that how it actually goes towards the body. At the same time, you also mentioned how Krishna also takes care of the situation where it's needed. So essentially, how is it determined, Prabhu, how, like, whether Krishna only takes care in terms of the material needs of a devotee, or how does that happen?
So does Krishna take care of the material needs of a devotee? Well, it is not that Krishna partitions a person. This is your material side, I don't care for it. This is your spiritual side, I only care for that. It's not like that. It's not like a apartheid between the body and the soul. It's not like that. Segregation. But the idea is that from Krishna's perspective, our spiritual side is much more important than our material side. So Krishna doesn't want to deprive us of our material side. We can put it this way. If we consider 4 quadrants, we can say there is material growth and there is spiritual growth. So the opposite will be material regress and there is spiritual regress. So the ideal situation is this situation, where there is material growth and spiritual growth. And that is what Krishna tells Arjuna at the end of the Gita, Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna. Where there is Krishna and where there is Arjuna, they are united together in service, then there will be opulence, there will be strength, there will be glory. So we can say that ultimately Krishna wants all of us to be here. Because Krishna has a mission in this world also. And that mission is Dharma Samsthapanartha. Krishna wants everyone to be, world to be in an orderly way so that everybody can be elevated in their consciousness. So for that purpose, if it is those who are devoted, if they are materially well situated, then they can influence society. If you see in this world, those who have material resources, they can influence others. If you say, if somebody has wealth, somebody has political power, somebody has abilities, somebody has material things, then they can influence people other ways. And Krishna wants his devotees to have that. Srila Prabhupada once told his disciples that, Krishna can give you the whole world in 18 days, but are you ready for it? So what does that mean? Are you ready for it? So ideally, it's not that Krishna wants to deprive devotees. Krishna wants devotees to have the best of the material world so that we can use that in his service. And we can attract people to Krishna. So Krishna would want that, as devotees, we have the biggest temples, we have the biggest schools, we have the biggest research institutes, we have the biggest educational forums. And so why would you want that? Because then that's how will attract more and more people toward Krishna. So that is the situation. However, the problem sometimes comes that when there is material growth, then we may start thinking that this material things themselves will give me happiness. And I don't need Krishna. Now we may say, no, I won't have this misconception. Well, yes, we won't have that misconception till we have that misconception. So, the idea is that many times when we are in desperate need, then we turn towards Krishna. And it's good that we turn towards Krishna. But what happens is that turning towards Krishna is maybe circumstantial. So when we practice bhakti, it can be at 3 different levels. There is circumstantial bhakti. Say, for example, a boy proposes to a girl, please marry me. And the girl says, why do you want me to marry you? Or why do you want to marry me? She says, because no other girl in the city is ready to marry me. Now, that is not the most flattering of proposals, isn't it? So, it is, there is nothing attractive about you, but there is no one else who is ready. So, that is circumstantial bhakti. That means, actually, Krishna, nothing else is working, therefore I am coming to you. Now, if a boy makes a proposal like that, and if at that time the girl accepts it, that shows that the girl really loves the boy. She really wants to be with him. But her acceptance shows her love. That doesn't necessarily show that boy's love. So, when we come to Krishna when we are in distress, that means when nothing else is working at that time we go to Krishna, Krishna still accepts us. Krishna still says, Udaraha sarva evaite. Anybody who comes to me for whatever purpose, that person, Krishna says, is large-hearted. That person is sukrutina. So Krishna accepting us is his greatness. But when there is circumstantial bhakti, then what happens? When the circumstances change, then we say, yeah, now other things are working. Now I don't need you, Krishna. So thank you, bye-bye. It can become like that. So from circumstantial bhakti, we can move towards more of intentional bhakti. Intentional means we consciously cultivate the intention to practice bhakti. That means that can be based on philosophical understanding, that can be based on spiritual experience. But that is at least at a philosophical level we understand that. So circumstantial bhakti is largely based on the world. Intentional bhakti is based on buddhi. We understand with our intelligence, this is what I should be doing. And then beyond that is transcendental bhakti. Transcendental bhakti is based purely on priti, on love. So we want to go there. So right now when we are practicing bhakti, if we will probably be somewhere over here somewhere. We are moving towards intentional, we want to go to a transcendental. So we get opulence, it's very easy to get infatuated by it. So that's why in this particular situation, sometimes when we are on the path of spiritual growth, from here we may seem to go over here, where material things seem to be taken away from us. So at that time what happens is, the circumstances change. So if circumstances are unfavorable, that's why I came to bhakti. Circumstances become favorable. Now the circumstances become again unfavorable. Then what do? Is my bhakti circumstantial or at least it's intentional going towards transcendental? So does Krishna take care of a devotee's material side? Yes, of course he does. But that does not mean that a devotee is guaranteed to have material comforts or material facilities. The ups and downs of life will be there. And we can say at one level the ups and downs simply happen because of the nature of the world. The ups and downs happen because we may ourselves act indiscreetly. We may ourselves act in an irresponsible way sometimes. So actions in the material world have their consequences. So at one level you can say that this is a spiritual level, this is the material level. So at one level, at the material level, if there is an action, there will be a reaction. And at one level you can say Krishna doesn't interfere with that. So for example, if a devotee is going for some program and the devotee is late, and the devotee starts going above the speed limit. And he says, once I was late for a program, this devotee was driving and he's going very fast. I said, and he said, Prabhu, you're going too fast. He says, Krishna will protect us. Well, I said, yes, Krishna will protect us by reminding us that we are going above the speed limit. I said, not that. Just because we are devotees, we cannot claim that material cause and effect no longer applies to us. So we have to use our common sense and protect ourselves. So if we make some mistakes, there will be consequences of that. But the key point is that even through those ups and downs, Krishna will draw a devotee closer to him. So it is not that Krishna will necessarily, in every instance, change the nature of the material world for a devotee. That means that the material world functions in a particular way, and Krishna does not intervene too much. And a devotee doesn't even demand also that Krishna should intervene. That we had the story of the Goswamis. When was it Jiva Goswami who was doing bhajan next to the river, and a tiger came over there. And then I think Sanatana Goswami told him that that he was fearless even in the presence of the tiger. That is his devotion. He continued chanting. But then Sanatana Goswami saw that Krishna was standing there with a stick, keeping the tiger away. And now that is his glory, that Krishna came to protect him. But then Sanatana Goswami told him that we are in Vrindavan to serve Krishna. We are not here to ask Krishna to serve us. So he said, you should make a kutir for yourself and keep yourself safe. Don't make Krishna come to protect you. So as devotees, we try to be as responsible as possible, and we try to take care of our material side. But if there are ups and downs that come about despite that, then Krishna will ensure that a devotee keeps moving toward him. So it's not that Krishna doesn't protect the material side, but that the idea that Krishna will protect me should not make me think that I don't have to use my common sense to protect myself. So we have to be responsible. Okay? Thank you.
Just a little follow-up for that. Prabhu, in the Bhagavatam, we hear Prabhupada used to quote the verse which Yudhishthira Maharaj quoted about.
Oh, okay. So my special mercy means that I take away everything from a devotee. Yes. Now, see, the point is that is special mercy. So what do you mean that special mercy? It is for, we could say it is for special devotees, it is in special circumstances. See, that same Yudhishthira, he is talking about that in the context of Yudhishthira Maharaj losing everything. But then that same Krishna arranged for Yudhishthira Maharaj to again gain the kingdom back. First the Rajasuya Yajna was performed, then he lost everything to the gambling match. But then Krishna was there in the Kurukshetra war and he helped them to get it back. So the idea is, when a devotee loses something, or at that time a devotee should be able to see that this is also Krishna's mercy. But that does not mean that losing everything is the only way Krishna gives his mercy. Isn't it? It is that the point of that verse is that we should always be Krishna conscious. That even when we are losing material things, at that time also, we should think that there is some Krishna's mercy over here. And that is that Krishna wants us to be wholly dependent on him. Like Draupadi, when she could nobody was there to help her, she just wholly depended on Krishna. But that does not mean that afterwards she told her husband, you didn't protect me, only Krishna protected me, so I don't care for you now. I renounce you, I'll just be with Krishna. Not like that. She continued her dharma, she continued her duty. Yudhishthira Maharaj, he was tricked into a rigged gambling match and he lost everything. And he saw it as Krishna's mercy, but then while he was in the forest, one of the things he did was actually he learned gambling in the forest. That there were sages who knew everything. So there was one sage who was good at gambling. So I think Vishravan or somebody's name is. So now why? So basically, he learned because he expected that he might be challenged for a gambling match again after the war, and he wanted to be prepared for it. So the idea is that when we lose things, we see that there is Krishna's mercy over here, But that does not mean that if we, in some way, where we had made a mistake because of which that had happened, we just repeat that mistake or justify that mistake. Okay? Yes, please.
Hare Krishna, that just gave me such an interesting insight because when it comes to losing things, it's the illusion that it's a loss. In the spiritual world, 1 + 1 = 1, and 1 - 1 = 1. So it's part of the Maya and part of that illusion where we think, oh my goodness, everything's leaving me right now and I have no support. But in reality, as we remove things from our life, it creates more room for Krishna to come in and work with us and bring his love into our lives. And so while at times, it says in the Bhagavad-gita, at times it will taste like poison before it tastes like nectar.
Beautiful. Thank you. Yes, when Krishna removes, when things go away from our life, at that time, so we may be using those things in Krishna's service also, but still, those things are occupying our consciousness. So sometimes when those things go away, then we can undistractedly focus on Krishna. About Bhishma Pitama, it is Bhishma Pitama was always devoted to the Lord. But it is said that when finally the sun moved to Uttarayan, it is said that that great soul who had fought hundreds of battles and spoken on hundreds of subjects, he withdrew his consciousness and focused it entirely on Krishna. What does that mean? Was his consciousness not focused on Krishna? Yes, he was always devoted to Krishna, but if he is going to talk about Raja Dharma, he is going to talk about how to administer a kingdom, he has to think about the kingdom. He may be thinking about the kingdom in relationship with Krishna, but still he's thinking about the kingdom. So when he was fighting wars. So even for a devotee, when we are serving Krishna, sometimes we need facilities for serving Krishna. And we need to value those facilities. And sometimes we seek those facilities also. But at the same time, it's important to remember that the facilities that we are using to serve Krishna can actually divert us from Krishna also. So we need to be cautious. So that's how we can say that maybe Krishna is, as you said, creating space within my consciousness for me to turn towards him. Okay, thank you. Hare Krishna. Yes. Okay, there's a mic here. You can just pass on.
I have.
Here, yeah, please.
So, you mentioned about having faith in Krishna yet taking care of oneself. So, one of the angas of surrender is Rakshashiti Vishwasho, that one should have faith in Krishna, that Krishna will protect the person. But then, how much should we endeavor to maintain ourselves? For example, if you look at the regular schedule of us, if I'm lucky, I work for 8 hours. If I'm not, then I even work for 12 hours, 14 hours, just to maintain the body. Then after that, we come home, one hour we read, or 2 hour we chant. It seems to somewhat contradict this thing. So how do we strike the balance there? How much is Rakshashiti Vishwasho and how much I need to endeavor? Endeavor basically means, I'm trying to please somebody to get something for myself. So where is the boundary?
So how much do we endeavor? Well, it depends on our situation. That means that we could say that if we are in a particular situation where we need to work a lot, then that's what we need to do to maintain ourselves. It is not that Krishna is an unreasonably demanding God. Krishna is not saying that you just forget everything else because you have to spend so much time to maintain yourself and you are not practicing bhakti, therefore I won't accept you. Krishna also understands our situation. And within our situation, as much as we are trying to offer our heart to him, he accepts that, he appreciates that. So, from our perspective, we need to evaluate how best we can practice bhakti. How best can we practice bhakti means 2 things are there. See, if this is my consciousness, so ultimately I want to offer my consciousness to Krishna. Oh, what happened? Screen share, okay. I want to offer my consciousness to Krishna. So while offering my consciousness to Krishna, there are, now sometimes we differentiate between material needs and material desires. Now, while there is in principle there's a differentiation between the two of them, But in practice, the boundary might not be that clear. So the idea is, like, let's consider fasting. Now, the purpose of fasting is so that cooking food, digesting food, eating food, the whole thing around food, that can consume a lot of time and energy and consciousness. So you just put it aside and focus on Krishna. So we want to offer our consciousness to Krishna. And sometimes abstaining from food may be able to help us focus on Krishna more. But if somebody has a particular situation, there's a quote of Srila Prabhupada which says, Prabhupada says, after all, determination is a bodily function. What he means is that, if we consider from the perspective of fasting, so somebody who has, say, a body with very high pitta, for them fasting is very difficult. Now, for some people, their determination to fast, they hold on fast to it. And for other people, their determination to fast goes away fast. They just can't sustain it. So then for some people, abstaining from food will help them to focus on Krishna. But for others, abstaining from food can become a distraction from Krishna. Oh, food, externally they may be chanting the holy name, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Internally their mind is saying food. Well, now we may say just have strong willpower, but that doesn't work. Because if there is a certain level of agitation, you can say it's physical, mental, whatever it is, from their experience perspective, if the need for food is diverting them away from Krishna, then, okay, just take some food and come back and focus on Krishna. So similarly, so what applies to food can also apply in general to, say, material comforts, material needs, material utilities. So what all do we need? Now we can say that bare minimum is what we all should have. But what is, the Kshatriyas, for example, would used to live in opulence. But the Kshatriyas were not distracted by opulence. That means that the Kshatriyas may live in royal splendor, but when a sage comes, they were not so inebriated by the royal splendor that they forgot dharma. So they had royal opulence, but they were serving Krishna with that opulence. And when the Pandavas got the Khandava, which was like a overgrown wilderness, they converted into an opulent city. And that is considered a mercy of Krishna. That is considered a glory. So the point I'm making over here is, each one of us has to make the decision about how best we can focus on Krishna and how much material resources we need so that we can focus on Krishna. If somebody has a craving for a particular thing, they say just give it up. But it's not that simple to give it up, because I may decide to give it up, but it's still there in my consciousness. So then when that happens, then not having that thing may become a greater distraction for us from Krishna. So basically, we can put it this way, that if we get Krishna consciousness, our attitude towards material desires. Now, there can be, we work on our material desires. Work on means we try to practice bhakti, we try to understand the philosophy, and by that, we try to purify ourselves of those desires. But while we are working on our material desires, we also need to work with our material desires. That means they are there with me, and they are there, I have to engage with them. Now, of course, there might be something which is work for material desires. So that means they are the driving purpose of our life. So that is, for example, or kama krodha parayana, the Bhagavad-gita says, that those become the driving purpose of our life. So as far as possible as devotees, we want to avoid this. Now this is the most recommended. But sometimes we might work with material desires. So now which material desires we can work on and intellectually just understand their inadequacy, their pointless, their futility. That's nice if we can. But if we can't, that doesn't mean we are disqualified from bhakti. So we may work with some material desires. So in one sense, we can say every one of us has to decide individually what will comprise simple living and high thinking for us. So because the point of, it's like simple living and high thinking are two principles, but another level, simple living should lead to high thinking. But if in trying to live simply, I'm having so much dissatisfaction that there is no high thinking at all. That, I may decide I will live in a very small house, have a simple car. And then when I come to the temple, instead of thinking of Krishna, I think, okay, what big car that person is in and what big car that person is in. And we are not Krishna conscious at all. We are only, comparison conscious at that time. Then that kind of simple thinking is not actually leading to high thinking. So the point is that what is anukul to Krishna, anukul for us, we do that. And that may vary from person to person. Of course, when you say vary from person to person, we can say that everybody may say, I need this much. Like one devotee was telling me that I cannot give any donation right now, but Prabhupada said give 50%. He says, once I get $10 million, I'll give 51%, not 50%. Okay. So the point is that we can always have excuses to delay devotion. So the point is that charity is not just an activity. Charity is a mentality. So give something, because the point is stay connected with Krishna. So we may think, in future when I'm in a more materially comfortable situation, that time I can serve Krishna without distraction. And it is possible that sometimes some situations may make it difficult to serve Krishna. But don't postpone service to Krishna entirely. Sometimes we may have to prioritize particular aspects of our life, but that prioritizing should not mean that Krishna just goes completely out of the priority. Maintain some basic non-negotiable level of bhakti, and then beyond that, we can adjust. So if we want excuses, we'll always keep going downwards in getting more and more entangled. But we also have to be, while we have to be honest with ourselves in terms of what our level is and what our motivations are, but also we have to be kind to ourselves. We cannot demand too much from our body and mind beyond its capacity. Because if that happens, then we will not be able to sustainably serve Krishna. While the body and mind can be distractions, but then they are also tools for serving Krishna. Krishna says, elevate yourself with your mind. Krishna is not saying reject your mind and elevate yourself. It is with our mind we have to turn toward Krishna. So we need a working relationship with our mind also. Okay? Thank you. So I'll quickly summarize. I couldn't complete this class today, so probably tomorrow evening I will take a remaining part. So broadly we discussed, first part was about the significance of the ninth chapter and the overview of the ninth chapter, where I talked about how the Bhakti Yoga is the essential message of the Gita. It is central and the conclusive message both. And within various chapters, sometimes the object of devotion and sometimes the process of devotion is described. Chapter 9 describes both. Then in that connection, I talked about the 4 glories of Bhakti Yoga. And we discussed the first one was everlasting results. That was the first E. So how all other paths, they give results connected with the world or the body, but Bhakti gives us not just results connected with the mind directed toward Krishna. So that's why it's everlasting. And the next point I discussed was, it's easy to perform. That means that no material lack or inadequacy can stop one from practicing bhakti. And the fourth point which we were discussing was, it embraces everyone. Now how exactly bhakti embraces everyone, I'll discuss it a little bit more, and we'll complete this chapter in the session tomorrow evening. So thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavad-gita ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki, Jai Gaur Premanande. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Hare Krishna. So, as was mentioned, I have written a few books. Srila Prabhupada wanted us to write our realizations. So this is a book on the mind based on the Bhagavad-gita. So different from my earlier books. This is You Are Not Your Mind, You Are Better. So this is 64 reflections for managing the mind. So the kind of simple diagrams I was drawing, there are illustrative images like that in this. And it talks about various practical problems we might face. When our mind makes us feel fearful or insecure or bored or just apathetic, how do we deal with the various obstacles created by the mind? That's explained in this book. Then we had Ram Navami recently. So this is a book, Wisdom from Ramayana on Life and Relationships, about 20 essays that analyze various incidents from the Ramayana and explain practical applications. So when we face obstacles and we become discouraged, Hanuman had to face many obstacles while going toward Lanka. So how did he overcome those discouragements? We can learn from that. And similarly, how relationships sometimes go down because of misconceptions. Vali and Sugriva were brothers and best of friends, but they ended up becoming mortal enemies. So why did that happen? How can we prevent that from happening? There are life lessons like that, around 20 articles from the Ramayana. And there are a few other books also. This is Gita for Daily Enrichment, 365 reflections inspired by the Bhagavad-gita. Each article is just one page, so you can read in about 3 minutes. And you can see how the Bhagavad-gita can be practically applied in life. And there are a few other books also available. If any of you want, there's a full set available also at a discount. And I'm available for signing the books if any of you want. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna devotees, so you can actually spend some time. Chaitanya Charan Prabhu will be there for some time, so please take advantage of this and please interact with him and look at his books. Tomorrow after the Sunday feast, he'll be here only for a short time because he has to go to San Francisco to give a program in Bhakti SF. So please take advantages of the opportunity to interact with him today. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Chaitanya Prabhu. Very grateful to you, and I want to just share a small memory. When I came to Krishna consciousness many years ago, his newsletter was one of the first things that I got, the Spiritual Scientist newsletter, which really connected me, and I'm very grateful to you for, all the work that you're doing, Prabhu, really shifting the vibrations on the planet. Thank you very much. So we have a short presentation continuing the series of presentations by the Kaishura children that are from 12 to 14 years of age. Today we have Arya Kumar. Arya is Arya's family actually just joined our temple, I would say this school year. So they started coming from August. So this is a wonderful achievement for Arya to be able to come here and present. And I did not plan this, but his presentation topic is God partial?
So God is impartial to you and favored you.
Hare Krishna, my name is Arya Kumar and I'm 13 years old. I will be presenting chapter 5 of the Bhagavatam, Is God Partial? No. So, the churning of the ocean of milk. The churning of the ocean of milk took place when a sage cursed the demigods to lose their immortality, and the demigods teamed up with the asuras to churn the ocean of milk. When the nectar of immortality came out of the ocean of milk, the asuras snatched it for themselves without giving a drop for the devas. When Krishna saw this, he went in the form of Mohini and enchanted the asuras and gave all the nectar to the devas. Now one might think that Krishna was being partial towards the devas when doing this. However, the asuras tried to steal it all for themselves without giving anything to the devas, so Krishna was just correcting them on their error. Okay, the Lord does not deal punishments partially. So Krishna always deals punishments mercifully in the best interest of those being punished. He always makes sure that the punishments uplift the people being punished. This can be compared to a mother and her children. A mother, if a child does something good, the mother will praise them and give them rewards. But if a child does something bad, the mother will scold them. But both of these are done out of love for the child. So the Lord reciprocates with our moods. If we serve the Lord with all of our heart and pure intentions, the Lord will make sure to reward us accordingly. However, if we do something with a negative attitude or with bad intentions, the Lord will give us punishment to uplift us and correct us. So one day, a honeybee went to a lotus flower filled with the most delicious pollen and nectar, and it gorged itself and enjoyed itself and the lotus for the entire day. However, when the sun went down, the lotus flower closed on the honeybee and it died in the flower. Now neither the lotus flower nor the sun had any animosity towards the bee. They were just following their routine. This can be compared to the Lord in that the sun shows the same light to everyone, but based on how we act, the reactions from the sun hit us accordingly. So, in summary, God is impartially partial in that He is partial towards His devotees who serve Him with pure intentions. However, He is impartial in that He gives everybody the chance to be His devotee. Okay, thank you. Any questions?
What do you make of the almost contradictory nature of the conclusion?
I feel like this reflects on the Lord's pastimes because He always does things in the best interest of those who serve Him. And even though sometimes this may affect other parties, it's always in the best interest of both parties.
And this is just a small reflection on the very good question of what do you think about the contradiction. I will borrow from a different path. In Zen, they think that you can only explain the absolute truth in contradictions, because our language, because of the duality, it is very difficult to represent the absolute truth with our language, because our language, like the computer language, is 0 and 1. It needs duality, but in the absolute, there won't be duality. So there, they use the contradictions to represent the absolute truth. So I think this was a very good example that to your question, that sometimes we need contradictions to us while living in this world of relativity and duality in Maya, to be able to explain maybe a tad bit of the absolute to our best extent.
Thank you.
So in the first one, turning of the mill question, you said in order to correct the demons who actually stole the pot for themselves, Lord showed that. But plan of his correction could also involve, giving the nectar equally to demigods and demons, because both of them were involved equally in churning the ocean. But giving only to demigods, it actually does show partiality, right? So how do we understand that part?
So basically, when the Lord gave the nectar to only the demigods, he didn't give it to the asuras because from the beginning they were trying to take it for themselves. And in order to correct this and set them on the right path, he didn't give it to them. However, he only gave it to the devas because they were serving him and doing it from with pure intentions.
I just have a reflection to share. So I really liked it when you answered her question and said, God acts in the best interest of both parties. And I felt like that's a brilliant thing that you shared, because I think only Krishna can do that. Nobody can act in such a way that you're beneficial to both people. And I mean, that actually, it was very insightful. Thank you for that.
Thank you so much. I think thank you, Arya. That was wonderful, and to your family too, for putting this effort. And it's so nice to see how you've learned so nicely and how much you're imbibing. I'm very grateful to you to be part of this class, and look forward to working more with you. Thank you. And with that, we'll just request to move on to the next part of our program, which is Guru Puja. So please move the mats and clear the floor so we can do Guru Puja. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Nama Shreshtham Manuapi Shachi Putramatra Svarupam Shri Rupam Tasyagrajam Murupurim Mathurim Goshtavatim Radha Kundam Girivaramaho Radhika Madhavasham Prapto Yasya Prathita Kripaya Shri Gurum Tam Natosmi He Guru Jnanada Dina Bandho Svananda Data Karunaika Sindho Vrindavanasi Nahitavatar Prasida Radha Pranaya Prachara He Dina Bandho Karunaika Sindho Kuru Prasadam Magimanda Mudhe Laksha Paradhe Bahupapa Tatpada Padme Stumatischa Krishne Naivo Payantya Pachitim Kavayastavesha Brahma Yushapi Kritam Riddha Mudasmaranta Yontar Bahistanubhrita Mashubham Vidhunvan Acharya Chaitya Vapusha Svagatim Vyanakti. I bow down to the beautiful lotus feet of my spiritual master, by whose causeless mercy I have obtained the supreme holy name, the divine mantra, the service of the son of Shachi Mata, the association of Srila Svarup Damodar, Rupa Goswami, and his older brother Sanatan Goswami, the supreme abode of Mathura, the blissful abode of Vrindavan, divine Radha Kund and Govardhan Hill, and the desire within my heart for the loving service of Sri Radhika and Madhava in Vrindavan. O spiritual master, O giver of divine wisdom, O friend of the fallen, you are the giver of your own bliss, and you are the only ocean of mercy. Although dwelling in Vrindavan, you have descended for the welfare of fallen souls like myself, and you are preaching the divine love of Radha for Krishna. Please be kind upon me. O friend of the lowly, O Gurudev, you are the only ocean of mercy. I am a dull fool and have committed hundreds of thousands of offenses. I have fallen into a dense myriad of sins. Therefore grace me with your mercy, so that my mind may be fixed on your lotus feet and on Sri Krishna. O my Lord, transcendental poets and experts in spiritual science could not fully express their indebtedness to you, even if they were endowed with the prolonged life of Brahma. For you appear in two features, externally as the Acharya and internally as the Supersoul, to deliver the embodied living being by directing him how to come to you. The lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only way by which we can attain pure devotional service. I bow to his lotus feet with great awe and reverence. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. Our only wish is to have our consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet is the perfection that fulfills all desires. He opens our darkened eyes and fills our heart with transcendental knowledge. He is our Lord birth after birth. From him ecstatic prema emanates. By him ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures sing of his character. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mercy, the friend of the poor, and the Lord and master of the devotees. O Master, be merciful unto us. Give us the shade of your lotus feet. Your fame is spread all over the three worlds. Shri Guru Charana Padma Savadha भवतो रिया प्रसादे भाई हे भवतो रिया कृष्ण प्राप्ति होय जाहा होयते कृष्ण प्राप्ति होय जाहा होयते गुरुमुख पद्मा वाक्या चित्ते थे कोरिया क्या गुरुमुख पद्मा वाक्या चित्ते थे कोरिया क्या गुरुमुख पद्मा वाक्या चित्ते ते कोरिया क्या आर ना कोरी हो मने आशा आर ना कोरी हो मने आशा श्री गुरु चरणे रति ऐसे उत्तम गति चरणे रति ऐसे उत्तम गति श्री गुरु चरणे रति ऐसे उत्तम गति जय प्रसादे पूरे सर्व आशा जय प्रसादे पूरे सर्व आशा दान दिलो जय जन्मे जन्मे प्रभु से दान दिलो जय जन्मे जन्मे प्रभु सकुदान दिलो जय जन्मे जन्मे प्रभु से दिव्य ज्ञान हृदय प्रकाशितो दिव्य ज्ञान हृदय प्रकाशितो प्रेमा भक्ति जहा होते अविद्या विनाशा याते प्रेमा भक्ति जहा होते अविद्या विनाशा याते जय जय जहाँ रच Guru Karuna Sindhu Adhama Janara Bandhu Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adhama Janara Bandhu Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namah Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Radha Madan Mohan Radha Madan Mohan Radhe Jaya Gaura Hari Jaya Gaura Hari Jaya Gaura Hari Jaya Gaura Hari Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Gurudev 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev Nitai Gaur Premanande Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajakaacharya Ashtotarasata Shri Srimad Bhakti A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajakaacharya Ashtotarasata Shri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Shyamakund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Shri Mayapur Navadvip Dham Ki Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Vrindavan Dham Ki Ganga Mai Ki Jamuna Mai Ki Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Ki Jamuna Devi Ganga Devi Ki Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Nitai Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees.
Devotees. All glories to the
All
assembled
glories to the
devotees.
assembled devotees.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you for coming for the weekly Saturday morning program. This week we had the great honor of hosting and being able to hear to His Grace Chaitanya Charan Prabhu. Haribol. Who gave us deep insights on the 9th chapter of Srimad Bhagavad-gita and was able to enliven us all with his clearly deep understanding of the subject matter. Are there any Sankirtan announcements? No? Okay, so now we're going to have the best part of the program, Prasadam. So, Prasadam prayers. Sharira Vidya Jal Jodendriya Tahe Kal Jive Phele Vishaya Sagore Tar Madhye Jihvati Lobha Moy Sudurmati Take Jeta Kathina Samsare Krishna Bada Doyamor Kori Bare Jihva Jai Svaprasadanna Dilo Bhai Seyanamrita Pao Radha Krishna Guna Gao प्रेमेडाको श्री चैतन्य निताय प्रेमेडाको श्री चैतन्य निताय महाप्रसादे गोविंदे नाम ब्राह्मणी वैष्णवे स्वल्प पुण्यवतां राजन् विश्वासो नैव जायते प्रसादे सर्वदुःखानां हानिरस्योपजायते प्रसन्नचेतसो ह्याशु बुद्धिपर्यावतिष्ठते त्वयोपभुक्तस्रग्गन्ध वासोऽलङ्कारचर्चिता उच्छिष्टभोजिनो दासास् तव मायां जयेमहि। भगवत श्री महाप्रसाद की जय। गौर